Hello, 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 hello. This is
Hello.
Britt with Truth Be Told podcast, and I have a good episode for you guys today. I have episode number 23 with Laura Onizuka. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad that you're on the show. I'm just so glad that I met you. I'm just glad that we are talking today. I miss you guys.
Oh my gosh, I know. The feeling's mutual. Francis is going to make an appearance here.
Yeah. You have to tell us. And who else do we have with us today?
So we're also joined by Francis the cat, who likes to
Hi,
be wherever the
Francis.
action is. She'll come and
Francis, she is ready for the camera. She knows the spotlight. So I love it.
That's right.
She matches your decor too.
So good.
But no, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Today, this episode is actually we're talking about it's called I Am All That and Then Some. What made me think of that was because we were discussing when we were in book club, we did talk about this lovely book. I don't know if you can see it. Oh my gosh. I have to tell you guys, I'm on YouTube right now, guys. But if you're new to this channel, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And let us know what we can improve on or what you like or what you don't like. I love all the feedback I've been getting. But with this book, it's called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers by Debbie Ford. And this was just one of the books that in Sean's book club that just kind of just wowed me. I never knew, Laura, that a book club, this is my first book club. And so I didn't know what to expect. It's funny how I ran upon Sean. I was going through something, but during that time. And so I walk in the mornings. And so I started listening to podcasts. And he came across one of his ads came across, and they were talking about personality isn't permanent. That's my favorite book too. And
So
so
good book. Yeah.
and so I said, okay, let me see what this book is all about, or let me see what this book club is all about. And the more that we dive into different books, the more layers peel back. Like the more that things will just explain to me why my brain is functioning the way it is. And so in the last episode, we'll get on that. But before I get into that, I want to talk more about you. I'm sorry, Laura. I got kind of excited because I love this book.
I know. It definitely is a book that makes you reflect. Oh, all of them from his book club do that, but this one you go deep into the personal stuff. So,
I
no,
know. I'm actually excited to see what he's going to do with the next book club. So I'm waiting to get an email or see what he's doing. And I know you guys are loving Boss Brain. And
oh,
so,
that's so great. Yeah, I think the next one is going to be more business oriented, but
okay.
he may change his mind. So it'll be
Okay.
exciting to
Okay.
see.
I guess we'll see. But I guess let's go back to Miss Laura. So Laura's doing all types of different things. She is definitely an entrepreneur. And where are you located at, Laura?
I'm on the West Coast in Portland, Oregon, born and raised. Yeah,
How is the weather?
rainy.
It's
It's super
raining here
rainy.
too.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm in High Point, North Carolina. And so it's raining. It's probably about an hour from Charlotte. And so it's just muggy. It's one of those
It's
days.
rainy, but kind of warm there, right?
It's not warm today. North Carolina is so weird. Like
Yeah.
one day you'll have on flip flops, the next day you'll have on like a big pullover or like a big jacket. Like it's winter, summer, all the seasons in one.
Actually been kind of like that here too. So
Yeah,
interesting.
I don't know. I don't know what God is doing, but I'm just gonna let him do it. But yeah, so Laura's she's an entrepreneur, and let us know what else you're doing. You're also, am I saying it right? As a flamenco dancer
Yeah,
instructor.
that's right. Yeah, so that's kind of my main gig is flamenco and mostly teaching, and also I take people to Spain to study. So I take them to on um, kind of boutique flamenco tours where you get to go to Spain to the heart of flamenco and study with some of the best teachers and just really it's flamenco is a way of life. So you get to experience that way of life for 1 or 2 weeks and just be immersed in the culture, be immersed in the art form, and learn to dance
Oh,
along the way. And
wow.
then I also teach online classes with flamenco and do workshops in person. I actually have a workshop coming up in May with a guest artist from Spain right here in Portland. The first one since COVID, so I'm super excited for that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is exciting. I didn't know you were taking people to Spain. Okay, tell me a little bit more about that. What made you get into this type of dance, and how can you get more information about the program?
Yeah, thank you. Well, you can find out everything you need to know at experienceflamenco.com, my website. And basically, I was watching, I saw a little video of flamenco dancing, and it was when I was in my early 20s, and I just went, what I have to do that. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but it spoke to me, Brittany. I felt it. So I said, I'm going to go to Spain someday and I'm going to do that. And so I did a couple years later and studied, kind of started my journey. And
Yeah,
then, I stayed there for about a year, worked, took classes, and then I had to come home and have, a normal life and
right.
get a normal job and all that stuff. And then it was 10 years passed and I went back and kind of started studying again. And one time I was there and I felt so alone, like I was just studying by myself, kind of lost and confused. And I just thought, I want to be here with friends. I want to be all of us together. I want to be learning together and supporting each other. And then I went, why don't I just organize that? Like I could make this happen. And that's sort of how I started doing the trips. It was just from a deep desire and it was something I wanted. And I thought, if I want this, other people want this.
That's crazy. So that's your way of serving and giving back, one of your ways.
Yeah,
And
thank
so
you.
it sounds like it's fulfilling you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes,
Guys,
absolutely.
you gotta check her out. Like I love your Instagram. Like when I'm in a funk or I just need to, I like learning different stuff. So when I came across your page, I was like, I don't remember Laura talking about that in book club. Like I was like,
Come up
where
a lot
was
of
I at?
yeah, doesn't come up, but I'm so glad you like it. It's actually Sean's got me on there teaching steps, and it's been really fun doing the reels and
Yes, please keep doing that. You're definitely inspiring us. And it's just like I said, it's something different. People, I gravitate to different stuff. I've always been somebody like, oh my gosh, I want to learn that, or oh my gosh, I want to do that. My husband's always like, baby, like, figure out what do you want to do. And that's what made me start the podcast, because I was like, okay, I'm always talking, but I want to talk in a way that I can hopefully people can understand my voice and just give back and serve. So I just commend you on doing what you're doing as far as instructing. And is there a move or something that you can show us today? Like
absolutely.
sitting down or something?
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
I just wanted to say really quickly, I think it's really good for our spirit and our brain and just overall to learn new things. So why not try a bunch of, you know what I mean? It's good for us. We don't have to commit to every single thing we want to learn about, but it's fun to do and it's good for us. So um, yeah, and I love that you're doing this podcast. I think it's great.
Thank
So
you. I'm gonna go to your website when I get off because I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not know she did that. Like, I'm like, I
so
can't wait
funny.
to go
Yeah.
look.
Well, like in the book club, we're really talking about this personal stuff
Mhm,
oftentimes. So,
mhm.
although, flamenco is something personal to me, but didn't always fit into the conversations. But let's do a little move.
Okay,
And
okay.
maybe you can teach your husband later. See,
Yes.
or your kids. I think that your daughter will like it.
She'll love it. I can't wait to show her the replay.
So, okay, we'll just do kind of something fun that you could do sitting down. So we're going to start with a clap because in flamenco we do a lot of percussion with our bodies and with our feet, and also like movements of the hands and things like this. But we're going to do some body percussion. So we go clap, and then we're gonna do. Let me see if I see now. Francis, the cat, is sitting on my lap. I was gonna kind of scoot up, but
It's okay.
so then we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
2, 3, 4.
Eso.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's right. So we go da da ka da 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 ka da da, and I think it helps to say it. The sound is da da ka da da da, and then one more clap. So it starts
Okay.
with a clap and ends.
Okay.
Da da
Da,
da
da, da,
da
da.
da. Good. And
Da, 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 da,
da da ka da
da.
da. And you could do either side too, whatever's more comfortable.
Okay.
Let me think for a second. What's the rhythm? Da da ka da da da. Oh, okay. Da da ka da da da.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna put the hands out to the side,
Mm-hmm.
kind of open, and then in.
Ah.
You're good. That was good. And you just kind of, it's like you're picking a piece of fruit,
Yeah.
picking it off the tree. That's what you're doing with the hand going in. So you're out and then you go in.
Yeah.
Ole. And then the last part, out. Ooh, you're
Ah.
doing good. Your nails look good too. So the whole thing is da da ga da 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 bam theme ba bum 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 ole. Love it.
Thank you, Laura. No,
Absolutely.
that's awesome. See, you learn something every day. I was excited for this interview because I was like, I'm gonna get her to show me a move.
Oh my gosh, I would show you moves all day long, and people would just get bored though. So
Okay, so also tell us about your virtual day spa. I want to thank you so much. I saved it. I was gonna do it. I went to Pigeon Forward, and I was gonna do it with the girls. I told them about you. They definitely was excited. It was like, is she gonna do a virtual day spa like soon, like something live? And I was like, I don't know. This is just something else new and brilliant that she's doing. And I just want to thank you so much.
oh
I
my
still
gosh.
have it. Um, I don't never really get a lot of alone time, Laura. And so when I got this and I was in Pigeon Forward, I was like, when they started getting on my nerves, because you know, girls get catty. And when they started getting on my nerves, I was like, I'm not even going to experience this with you guys, but you guys see it, and I'll take it home and experience it with my daughter. So she was like, Mama, we're going to do it after the interview, and then we could just show Laura. And I was like, yeah, we'll just show Laura that way.
Oh,
Because, yeah, like I just wanted to be back in my serenity and just.
yeah. We all need time to ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and doing whatever activity that could be different activities. But yeah, and sometimes it's just for yourself, or sometimes, like you said, with a friend or
Right.
daughter. But I love pampering myself when and it just feels good, even if it's just like 5 minutes. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, what I sent you is, well, we could do a virtual spa night. Let's do it.
Yes.
I would love
Yes.
to do that with you. And
Yes. I would love to.
yeah, because I remember you saw my story, and I think it said, do you want to know about the next one? And you were like, yes. And so I thought, well, I can just say, you can just have your own whenever you
Right.
want. But so my side gig, I guess you would call it, is as an independent consultant with Beauty Counter, which is a clean skincare and makeup cosmetics company. And it's been really fun. It wasn't something I ever saw myself doing, kind of a salesperson, although you do that with your own business no matter what, I
Right.
suppose. But I really love the products. I really love, like I said, I was always into skincare,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that the products are clean and they are really interested in responsible sourcing and paying close attention to the supply chain and where the ingredients are coming from, which is important to me as a consumer. So
Right.
it was a brand that I wanted to support. And it's actually really fun because I love having like a spa night, especially during COVID. And I had just started doing this right before COVID
Mm-hmm.
hit. So I started having these spa nights where we would just I would send people the samples. We'd get together on Zoom and we'd do little facials.
Oh
And
gosh, that's awesome.
yeah, like do some self massage and just kind of girl time, but
Mhm.
although guys could do it, I suppose, but I
Right.
think girl time, and just a moment for ourselves with luxurious feeling products that are good for you, and then your
Mhm.
skin is feeling really soft and you feel relaxed. So,
Right. I actually have a friend that uses their stuff. So I was actually surprised when I seen it come through the mail because I was like, oh my gosh, like they're really clean, natural brand that just like your face looks great. And every time I see you on camera, whether you have makeup on or not, you're natural or not, it's just always, vibrant. So I know skincare definitely plays a big role in that. But
thank you.
yeah,
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 just yeah, we take care of our skin. It shows, and there's so many ways to do that besides just the products.
yeah,
But
yeah. I
thank
had to learn that too. I definitely I drink a lot more water now, and like I said, I just pay attention to my body more. With this particular episode, I was thinking it's funny that we're talking about all of this because the last episode it talks about like forgiving yourself. And in this episode is pretty much letting you know to own all of those traits. Uh, I
yeah.
remember when we were in book club and we got to chapter 6, and it was like a really big eye opener for me. That's what made me like go there with you because I was like, oh yeah, Laura, you'll get it. Even though we haven't talked about it in a while, you'll once you go back to it, like it. We talk about this. It's okay. And so, and so I just remembered us doing a list. And I just remember so much about this book. But before I go any further, can you tell us the definition of owning, like owning oneself? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, well, thank you because that was kind of interesting. I wasn't sure, at first when you asked me to do the podcast, what exactly we were going to talk about. And so when you brought up this book and this chapter, I was like, oh, because actually, I think on the last book club, Sean was asking what were people's kind of favorite books and what were ones they didn't like. And for me, this, I don't know if I would call it a favorite book, but it was one of the favorite topics to go
Right.
into.
Mhm.
um, what she dealt with in the book. It did sort of trigger me sometimes, but I think that's the point, right?
Mhm.
And so, but it was funny because somebody said it was their least favorite book, but I really appreciated this book, and so I was away out of town on vacation for a few days, and I brought this, and I was reading it to my best friend because we were
Uh-huh.
together, and and we were having discussions about it. So it was good to revisit. So thank you. But my definition of owning oneself, I guess, is really just accepting everything.
Mhm.
And because I think when I was younger, I didn't want to accept the things that sort of like I should change or I believed were bad, that had this kind of negative label. And from what I've learned and also what she's talking about in this chapter is just how important that acceptance is of myself and the situation that's happening, other people, just in general. But
You
that
give
word,
me goosebumps when you're saying that because, like I said, it takes me back and it makes me think of like when I was little and still to this day. I'm kind of like, I don't want to say I'm the black sheep, but I was like the wild child. Mom always was like, if somebody was calling from school, like the principal or something, she knew it was for me and not my sister. Or she would say, like, I like to color my hair different ways. I'm still a hippie in and out, and that drives her crazy. She just, I don't know. I've always been very outspoken. And what I realized in this chapter, like when I even been going back before this chapter, I realized like, wow, Brittany, like that just makes you a part of who you are. And that's scary sometimes because when you look in the mirror, you don't always, it's hard to forgive yourself. And it's sometimes it's just hard to own up to all of those traits.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, the reality is some of them are things that we would want to change. Some of them aren't because some are just like you said, just maybe not part the norm or what your family wants or whatever, but some of those traits are actually not good things.
No,
But it's like if we don't look at them, they're still there.
right. And it makes you actually sit down and do the work. When I talk about, this, my podcast is pretty much what we were learning, empowerment. And then a lot of things that I've learned, I didn't realize what I was learning, Laura, even before book club. I was always in something inspirational or always going through some type of trial and tribulation, just like all of us. But some of those lessons I would just learn and be like, okay, Brittany, take a step back. Instead of beating yourself up, figure out what it was that you could have learned from that mistake. And looking at this book in this particular chapter, when we had to write down those traits, and even if you can't think of those, if you could think of some right now, when you're thinking about owning yourself and owning everything, I am all of that and then some. What are some of the traits that you still deal with that are hard to face each day?
Well, I wanted to say because you mentioned mistakes and like learning from mistakes. It makes me think of one of my most important flamenco teachers, and he taught me because I feel like learning flamenco is also teaches me about life.
Mhm.
And anyway, one of the things that he taught me was, you're going to make a mistake, but don't make the same mistake twice. And the point is learn from your mistakes. And anyway, so I just think
No, I love that. I love this teaching.
right. It's just like, because otherwise you just keep, if we don't learn from it, we just keep making, I kind of like, we make that same mistake over and over until we learn from it. And then
Mhm.
maybe we still make it again.
Mhm.
But anyway, the list, yeah, the list isn't, it's not a pretty list, but some of the, um, and I was looking to see if I could find the one I'd made before, but I couldn't find it. But some of the words that I came up with were rude. And so I think the hard part of the list is that part where you go and you look at, well, where am I rude? Because I don't want to be rude, but
No.
oh yeah, uh-huh. I have conceited, bad listeners. I don't, that's not really a descriptive word, but you know what I mean. Distracted, self-centered. These are the
Oh,
things.
Laura, I don't think like none of that of you.
uh, Judgmental. Realize I'm really judgmental of people who are judgmental, which is ironic. It's
Mhm.
like,
So
um,
it's funny you said that. Like, I'm going to stop you right there.
please,
I
because
had
I
a
don't
funk.
have a
You were
list.
talking about some words, and it just made me think of something I went through. Something kept like popping up in my life, like different traits I kept seeing within certain people that are close to me, but I didn't understand why it kept bothering me. Um, I didn't understand it. I would be like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know why rude was one of mine too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, rude was disrespectful, um, mean,
Hmm.
sometimes, and I just said ghetto. When I said ghetto, because that's what my mom used to call me all the time, and I think it's just, I don't think I'm ghetto, but if I see it, if I'm around it, Laura, like in my definition of ghetto is just, and I'm not trying to call my people ignorant, but sometimes just some of the stuff we say and some of the stuff, and I have to say my people because that's what I am. I'm Black, so that's all I can relate to. I can't relate to anything else, but that's what I'm referring to. I'm just going to give you a scenario, and I just really, when you were talking about those words, this person was demonstrating one of those words to me, but it just kept coming up, and I kept saying to myself, Laura, why does this keep bothering me? Because the person does get on my nerves, and I know how to turn her on and turn her off. And like they said, go a little bit, stay lesser. Yeah,
Right.
I had to learn that. And that's what I did. But I didn't understand why what she was doing was bothering me so much. And I just had to start. And whenever I was going through that, we were reading this chapter.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah,
Perfect
that's why
time,
it was
divine
just
timing.
it was divine timing. And I was just like, ooh, talk about the kettle calling the pot black. Like, listen to me. Like, this is me showing me I'm rude, I'm disrespectful. If you want to call it ghetto, whatever your definition of that is, Brittany, that's what she's showing, and that's what you don't like about you, certain traits. Where did you pick that up? My mom always like, where did you pick that from? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
um,
And I find it's interesting when looking at the words, kind of in thinking, reflecting on, well, where am I that way? Because we don't want to be,
mhm,
you know,
mhm.
we don't want to own that. And sometimes it's to other people, and sometimes it's toward myself, like, oh,
What do
I'm
you do when you realize that it's towards yourself, or how does that make you feel in the moment? About those nasty traits. That's what I'm gonna say we're referring to, because everybody can say I'm joyful, I'm happy, I'm peaceful, I'm loving. Like in the mornings, Laura, I say affirmations in my declaration every morning. I get up and try to have my alone time, meditation time, and God time. But sometimes I'm saying them, but I don't always feel that way. I
mm,
don't always feel I'm worthy, I'm lovable, I'm this, I'm that. I'm just like, okay, that's what I want to feel. Sometimes it hasn't left my head to my heart yet. So,
yeah.
how do you deal with those nasty feelings as you're going through the healing process and learning to trust your body?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, I wish I were like a master at this stuff. But I'm like, I think we were both seeking that growth, right? Joining the book club where we met each other.
Mhm.
But I think kind of it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning of this part of the conversation, that acceptance, and just to say, okay, so sometimes I'm rude,
Mhm.
and I'm not gonna, like, if I deny it or don't look at it, I feel like that's kind of the danger zone, and that accepting, just going like I guess acknowledgement first, right?
Mhm.
And then acceptance, and then compassion. I feel like that's
Yes.
the thing. For me, that's the key, is to have compassion. Like, even if it's something that I don't like and I wish weren't the case, and obviously you can change that because we have the agency to act however we want. So
Right.
that compassion for, oh, like, just going back to what we were talking about, the mistake, just compassion, like, it's okay, and
Mhm.
we move on, and we're aware, and we accept it, and we own it, and take responsibility, and but have compassion along the way. That to me is the biggest thing, because I feel like when I don't do that, that's when I go into, like, that's the when you that shame, and that
Mhm.
leads to the negative behaviors and unhealthy habits, and all that, that whole rabbit hole.
It's funny you said that, because it just, like I said, it gave me chill bumps, because when I was reading it and now just talking about it again, it always just sheds a little bit more off of me, because, like you said, being compassionate towards somebody else. When I read this chapter and then I looked at that person totally different, totally different. I was just like, oh wow, like whatever I have going through me or whatever, that's me. Yes, you do get on my nerves. Now that's just real. Like you get on my nerves, but whatever I'm reflecting off of you, I'm not gonna let none of that bother me. I need to just focus on what I can control. And like you said, move on and accept that. And that's just a big thing. And it sounds cliche, Laura, but sometimes it's just hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
hard to do.
Do you feel like she triggers you less, or is it the kind of thing where you just don't spend as much time with?
I don't spend as much time.
Yeah.
Because there are triggers. It's just stuff that I see and stuff that it's not going to change, and it's okay. But what I've learned through book club and through personal development is I can't focus on what I can and can't change. When I got married, I learned a lot. Me and my mom were not as close, but once I got married, we got a little closer, because as far as me listening to her, she might think I don't listen to her, but because she's been there, done that, I'm like, okay, mama, she tells me stuff and I listen. She doesn't kind of play sides or any of that. And she doesn't get in our business. And I'm just grateful for her. But she teaches me a lot just being older. And like I said, it's funny, like the older you get, you think you stop growing, but you still learning stuff about
Yes.
yourself. Laura, what is something that you could tell the audience today? I know we said a mouthful. I took a lot about what you said as far as accepting and owning. But I always try to talk to the avatar of the podcast and just, which is a younger version of us and even an older version of us. What is something that you can tell them as far as owning all their traits as they're growing? What's the takeaway from that?
Gosh. Well, that kind of makes me feel emotional because I love that question, and I really love who you're speaking to in this podcast because that's the key, right? I think getting these messages when we're younger, and I think about like um, the young people who I mentor and my nieces and things. Um, it When I think about where I was as a younger person and how just going back to this word rude, how really rude I was to myself,
Mhm.
it's sad. It makes me sad. And so to think of anybody treating themselves in that way, especially younger people, it makes me, it makes me really emotional because we do so much damage. And so I guess I would say, I don't know. I hope that you don't judge yourself for the things you do that you think are bad, and maybe they are. They really could be, right? But
Mhm.
I hope that instead of blaming or just being mean, you can acknowledge it, have some compassion for yourself, make a better choice, but with love. And it's okay because we all make mistakes and we all have things that we're not perfect and we're human beings and we have fortunately or unfortunately that's what we have to contend with, right?
I love that. I love that. As you were talking, it just gave me goosebumps. So you weren't just talking to the younger crowd. I definitely took that in, and I appreciate
I'm talking
everything.
about myself too, right?
I appreciate it. I'm like, oh my gosh, Laura, thank you. You said everything I needed you to say. And I appreciate you. Again, let the audience know where we can find you at on social media.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate you too. I really do, and I'm so excited for you. Um, I just think it's so cool. I remember you talking about, wanting to do something when you joined the book club, and I just think it's amazing. Like you're doing it. You've been super consistent, and I haven't even listened to your recent podcasts
It's
because
okay.
going on, but the first ones, it was just, I just think it's great what you're doing. And I love that you're following your intuition and your heart and putting out this great message. So thank you, and
Thank
thank you
you.
for inviting me to join. And it's so much fun to get to talk with you a little bit more. But anyway, all that said, you can experienceflamenco.com is my website, and then if you're interested in the Instagram, it's you can find it Experience Flamenco or my first name if you want those little lessons that Brittany was talking about. And then if you're interested in the beauty counter stuff, the skincare, makeup, that I can just give you a link, Brittany, that we can put in to
Yeah,
show
do that. Love that.
for my name. But and I'm happy to always give people samples and all that stuff.
I appreciate it. I appreciate everything. Thank you for coming on today. Guys, make sure you tune in to this episode. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We are signing out with episode number 23. I am that and all that and then some. With
For
Miss
sure.
Laura Onizuka. Thank you so much today.
Oh
I
my,
appreciate
thank
you.
you. Thank you so much.
Bye.